Yeah, hello everybody, and welcome back to the M365 FM podcast. Today's guest is someone who has spent more than 15 years helping organizations turn ambitious data strategies into measurable business outcomes. He is a five-time Microsoft MVP, founder of Onyx Data, creator of the FabOps governance platform, fourth technology council member, Oxford Site AI alumni, author, international speaker, and one of the leading voices on Microsoft Fabric governance and enterprise AI adoption. Rather than focus on AI demos that never leave the lab, his work focused on the what happened after the excitement, helping organizations move from pilots to production through governance, Microsoft Fabric, Microsoft Purview, semantic modeling, and measuring ROI. He is the creator of the concept known as the pilot text, highlighting why so many AI initiatives fail before they ever deliver real business value. Leon, it's a pleasure to have you on the MC65 podcast. Welcome to the show.
Oh, fantastic, Mirko. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And that introduction has just reminded me how busy I am.
Yeah, I don't. I hope I had nothing forgotten.
No, not at all. Thank you for going through that. What a mouthful to try and get through. So thank you.
Leon, for I don't think it's not so much people, but for listeners meeting you for the first time, who is Leon Gordon?
Okay, so I mean, just to give you some context, and I guess about me. So I own and operate a Microsoft Fabric consultancy called Onyx Data, whereby we have a team of Microsoft MVPs that really support organizations to implement Fabric, but also to give that governed environment for them to go and then adopt value from agentic technologies in the artificial intelligence realm on top of that, specifically focused on Microsoft technologies, but we're also a Databricks and Snowflake partner as well. I guess the question was more who is Leon Gordon. So if I give you a bit about my history, it might form a little bit about who I am today. So something that people tend to find quite interesting is that I didn't go the traditional route into data analytics or into artificial intelligence. I actually left school at the GCSE level in the United Kingdom to
Mhm.
go straight into a football scholarship, which led to me being a footballer until I was around about 18 or 19, which means I didn't go the traditional university route as much of my peers and colleagues. So what that meant is that I ended up starting from what I would call fairly close to the bottom of the engineering or data analytics stack, really doing data entry, and then working my way up through Microsoft technology, starting with T-SQL, SAS, so that's analysis services, SSIS, which is integration services, SSRS, so reporting services, before landing in Power BI and then going on to machine learning and artificial implementation as well. So very much on the job experience and being self-taught throughout my whole career. And then I've gone on to utilize this to build communities of like-minded people and to give those people the opportunities that I didn't have as well coming through the industry.
Was there one project that completely changed changed how you think about enterprise data?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had the joy of delivering a Microsoft customer success story. So Microsoft deemed this project that we delivered to be good enough to actually be demonstrated by them as a customer success story, and also featured at both Build and Ignite that year as well. So that was not only a proud moment for me, but we also delivered this as one of the first and largest implementations of Fabric in the UAE, so United Arab Emirates, and also utilizing SpaceX data as part of that implementation alongside an organization called Elcom, and a friend and colleague, Jimmy Gruhl, they're the managing director who we were able to work alongside with that project. That was very much a real-time intelligence project, delivered with a very small team of developers, and also delivered fully remotely as well. So, with those constraints and variables, it's very much a proud moment for me. And Mirko, as I'm sure you can imagine, with that type of development environment, with that newer technology as well, there were lots of experiences and obstacles to overcome as part of that delivery.
Mm. Yeah, that's the SpaceX. So that's interesting. Yeah, you often say something like enterprise AI is where ambitious go to die. What did you mean by that?
So I think, especially over the course of the last couple of years with the Gen AI kind of, I don't know, you can wrap Gen AI up in whatever you want to call it, the boom, the bubble, the hype, however you want to kind of wrap it up. Lots of organizations have Gen AI ambitions, but lots of them are also just tick box exercises where a proof of concept or proof of value never actually leaves the sandbox and just ends up costing a lot of money without actually delivering any value. And it's worthwhile just noting that we've seen a plethora of what I would call traditional artificial intelligence implementations. So the more traditional machine learning implementations that have gone on to deliver high value and are pretty much very war or battle tested
Mm,
in today's day and age. What I'm specifically referring to here is more the Gen AI technologies. Now, the reason that I feel this way about it is it's not just myself. I believe MIT did a study in 2025 that suggested that only 1% of Gen AI implementations actually go on to hit production. Now, there's many reasons for this. The vast majority of it comes down to actually not leading with value first, understanding what the return on investment is, and what the outcome you're trying to deliver is, and secondly, how you're doing that in a governed and fit for agentic AI environment. So, is your data up to scratch? And I'll leave that very vague and very broad, but that's a good way to at least get started on what I mean there.
yeah. I think a lot of companies struggle, yeah, with it. But yeah, there's one part they struggle because it's a yeah it's cost intensive, but others investing millions. Why did they struggle if they put so many money in it?
Multiple reasons. I think we've had some famous stories. McDonald's is probably one of the largest, at least from a social media perspective, that comes to mind, whereby they trialed generative AI on their drive-through takeout kind of checkpoints, and people were able to spoof these agents into being able to order thousands of nuggets, for example. And similar scenarios have been utilized on large organizations, again, their company or their public facing websites, chatbots, where people have been able to utilize them for free inference, shall we say, and being able to use their chatbots as large language models for all intents and purposes. Now, at least those public facing stories come back to one point, which is governance, quality, acceptance testing,
Mm,
and ensuring that the tool is fit for purpose against all edge cases. But typically, this comes back to that rush for implementation, the rush to try to deliver that Gen AI tick box for boards, etc., rather than actually stopping to think, why do we need this? Do we have the infrastructure and platform to be able to support this? And what does this look like in 3, 6, 12 months' time as the technology continues to evolve as well?
mm. And how figured your pilot tax concept in this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we believe in doing, or at least starting with proof of values. These are fairly small to medium sized projects, which are set out to prove that, I mean, the kind of the thinking behind it's in the title, right? They're set out to prove value. Okay. So taking a business use case, identifying key strategic areas and business metrics that we can prove value against, costing that out again, looking at all edge cases, etc., and then proving this out in a small to medium size before then being able to go ahead and forecast scale for the business once you go ahead and productionize that. Now, the reason that we've put together this framework and methodology is because so many organizations, again referring to the MIT stat earlier, so many organizations, 99% of organizations in the last 24 months or so, have not been able to get out of that proof of concept or pilot environment. And that's exactly the framework that we've been able to use to overcome that.
Yeah. Did you see warning things that an AI initiative is failing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess with that, it's lack of trust by the business as well is it plays a big part in it. How can we ensure that what we're being told is accurate? There won't be any hallucinations at all. And to be honest, we've actually put together an anti-hallucination framework to circumnavigate this as well, to actually give organizations that trust in the information that they're being told by the large language model is being accurate, and then making this verifiable all the way down to that minute row of data in your lakehouse or data warehouse environment as well. So these are some of the areas that we've been able to highlight. That really stop organizations being able to productionize that value. And there's lots of other areas again. And strategically, we've been able to reverse engineer this and be able to lead with a framework that actually enables organizations to be able to take small steps in a quick period of time to showcase value against needed business use cases, and then be able to have a proven route to production, governed and secure Gen AI in their environment, on their data, hallucination free.
It's technology usually the problem, or is it something else entirely?
No, combination. So generally, some of it's down to culture, technology. Lots of organizations, to be blunt, don't have this capability internally, which is why they look to a third party like ourselves to be able to come in, not only just implement this technology, but to also to take their team on this journey. So at Onyx Data, we actually have something called the Onyx Academy, whereby our clients' teams are trained on these technologies, upskilled to be able to then be a center of excellence internally and to go on and be champions of these technologies and be able to go and train others internally as well. And that's something that we're quite proud of.
Mm.
Outside of that, we've seen organizations rush towards data maturity. For anybody that's been involved in the data space, data quality, data governance, etc., have all been very tiring conversations and hard won battles with boards and heads of over the past few years. Now it's one of the first items on any agenda for these type of implementations. So that just shows you where data culture has gone, or has led to, at least within the last 5 years or so.
And you're also really famous for the Microsoft Fabric topic. Why has Microsoft Fabric become such an important platform?
What a platform, to begin with. What a concept. So kudos to Satya Nadella and the whole team involved in Microsoft Fabric as a platform, first and foremost. And let's be brutally honest, it's not without scrutiny. As any new bleeding edge technology and forward thinking concept, that we're not going to get everything right day zero. But it's an ongoing journey. Now, the great point about Microsoft Fabric for organizations, well, there's a couple of great points actually. So let me expand on this a little bit.
Yeah.
The first great point is it's a single unified solution of what was previously disparate technology. So you're now bringing your pipelines, your notebooks, your data science, your visualization, your semantic modeling, etc. Now your agentic framework, real-time intelligence, and even now application development with Fabric apps and Rayfin all together into a single environment with one single line item for your IT team and your infrastructure team on your monthly bill, which is a huge win. This not only cuts down on complexity in being able to spin up these environments and time to make all of these different components talk to each other, but it also simplifies billing. Now, what that also brings to the forefront, typically in a data and artificial intelligence engineering environment, you have people that have varied skill sets. So one way to look at this previously was the T-SQL developer, the Python developer, and a data scientist. Okay, each
Okay.
of those potentially using different languages or different scripts. So the T-SQL developer obviously using T-SQL, the Python developer obviously using Python, and a data scientist potentially using R or Python as well. Then you have the citizen developer, who typically is a no code or low code developer. Now, what Fabric really did fantastically well is introduce the Parquet file format and OneLake, which has really enabled each of these different personas to be able to come to the same table, as I like to call it, and all be able to share the data, regardless of what plate or cutlery of choice that they would like to use. And that is a fantastic unlock, shall we say, across various skill sets within an enterprise organization.
Yeah, what I found really interesting is it's the Fabric apps because a lot of people say, okay, Excel is dead because now we have Power BI, and now a lot of people say Power BI is dead because we have Fabric apps. What is this Fabric apps, and will it really kill Power BI and Excel?
Who knows is probably the easiest way to look at it, but let's look at what it actually enables, as opposed to potentially looking at what the future looks like. So, Fabric apps and the Rayfin technologies that support it pretty much brings the application layer into Fabric. So typically, when you had your app devs, your web devs, etc., they'd be using Azure technologies. Now they're able to do this. Given there are a couple of limitations, the fact that it's still in preview, we won't go into those, but there's plenty of documentation available on what they are. But the goal here is to bring the application layer into Fabric and importantly, be able to interact with the rest of the Fabric environment. So your semantic models, for example, be able to process DAX queries, et cetera, et cetera. Now, large members of the data analyst and visualization community, as you mentioned, Mirko, have absolutely looked at this from a Power BI perspective. How can we spin up web-based apps now that represent data visualizations that enable us to do everything that we couldn't do previously with the ceiling of Power BI? NJ Park, the fellow MVP, probably comes to mind as one of the leaders at the forefront of this AI-driven Fabric apps implementation deployment. Now, for me personally, just to get onto will this remove Power BI in the future, I will double down on the fact that who knows? Potentially, potentially not. Now, for me, one area where I'm absolutely certain where it won't be removed, which is a Power BI object, or at least it was natively, is the semantic layer, the semantic model, the tabular engine underneath
Oh,
Power BI. That just becomes a more important component. And I mentioned this on another um, panel session very recently that the semantic model is finally becoming the prom queen, shall we say, at prom evening. And I can only see that getting more integrated as we move forward.
mm. So it's a little bit a mix of platforms like, I don't know, Power uh, apps and Tableau editor, or how it would. Uh,
Yeah, so I think it's a combination, right? So if you think down to if you were a software engineer and you were building applications directly with your technology, Node.js, React, TypeScript, etc., Python, so on and so forth, everything that you've been able to do previously in those environments, you're now able to do directly within Fabric. So you're absolutely right. This can become a replacement for the likes of Power Apps, for example, and it really opens the lid on the capabilities of what you're able to now do within Fabric. It's a huge walk into a new generation of capabilities, not just for data analysts and engineers, but also for software engineers now.
Awesome. Yeah, I have to look a little bit more in it. um, did you think, or did you see misconceptions organization have when they look at Fabric, or did you something see often?
Yeah, absolutely. So Fabric, as I've mentioned, and pretty much waxed lyrically about a little bit, is a fantastic platform. It's especially a fantastic platform for Microsoft native enterprises as well. Now, where we have seen reservations is against, let's say, more mature offerings in the market and more cemented offerings in the market, the likes of Databricks and Snowflake that have had readily available platforms for a lot longer in regards to time. Now we have to remember that Fabric it's not just the bringing together of components. these are already mature components from an Azure infrastructure perspective. They're now being made available in a single package that can be utilized across the organization. So, with that comes some teething issues, and Microsoft have acted really quickly, and for those that where there have been, but this is very much a journey of hardening of a platform that has seen fantastic enhancements over the course of the last couple of years. And as we've seen in recent Gartner reports, etc., has become an industry leader in a very short space of time.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies have spent a lot of money for building their traditional data platforms. I don't know, in SQL or something. Um, when should companies think about Fabric as the right solution for them?
I think whenever you're trialing out a new proof of concept is probably a good way to look at it. So the ease of Fabric is how easy it is to get started with. You're able to go ahead, sign in, spin up a capacity sizing. So let's just say a capacity, for those that don't know, is the compute made available for you, and this is sized up accordingly in different tiers. Okay, so with that in mind, you can go ahead to the Fabric. You can sign in and you can spin up a capacity as low as an F2 to begin with. Okay, so for a moderately small charge, you then have access to all of those components that I've previously mentioned. Okay, so this means even if you have some small Excel workloads and processes, if you have a report that's a legacy report, let's say something like crystal reporting, for example, or SAP, some legacy SAP objects as well. This is a great time to go through that proof of value. Okay, see where you can have efficiencies, typically in the processing of the data, and also being able to make this available from a single point of truth to other areas of the organization as well. So that would be my recommendation. If it's something that you're going on a journey of increasing the size of data in your organization, then start small, see where Fabric is efficient and drives value, and see where it might not fit your current work processes, and then take an educated step forward based on the outputs of that. Now, if you are already a fully fledged organization and you're using another cloud provider, let's just insert any cloud provider's names there, then one of the fantastic areas of Fabric is how well they play with other cloud providers. Now, whether this is the utilization of a technology called mirroring or utilizing shortcuts, which enables you to effectively create a virtual desktop shortcut to another cloud provider and utilize that data within your Fabric environment. It's a great opportunity to be able to utilize Fabric for some of those workloads where you wouldn't have previously thought it possible, and then bring it into a native environment where everybody in your organization, regardless of their technical ability, can go and start to utilize and drive value with data and artificial intelligence.
Yeah. And when we talk about Fabric, we most talk about, yeah, I say the technology stuff. But is it also bring an organizational change?
Yeah, I believe so. I think that at least in my conversations with lots of enterprise organizations, they're now interested in the ability to do cross-domain charging, for example. So historically, lots of organizations have had warehouses or lake houses where they haven't been able to do the traditional FinOps and split out the charging of the compute, etc., for various departments. Now these capabilities become available within Fabric, where you can start to have different domains. You can have your marketing domain, you could have your finance domain, your sales, etc., and they can all get charged back, which brings a different area or a different concept to organizations, in the fact that sometimes it actually increases what they're able to do because each of those domains has their own budget set aside for data initiatives and artificial intelligence initiatives, and they can kind of virtually pull this together to bring their environment forward. And Mirko, we also released a tool called FabOps which does this at scale. So it's a governance and always on kind of command center or lighthouse overview of your whole Fabric estate, regardless of how many capacities you have, which further enhance the ability to be able to become really data driven, and not have to rely so much on your security and governance teams.
Yeah, like to talk uh, about governance, but one question before. Um, a lot of companies say, okay, last year's we will become data driven and yeah, start with Fabric. And now the companies say we will be AI driven companies. What role does Fabric play in an AI first world?
Oh, you just hit it there on the head, and you've taken the words out of my mouth, really. Fabric, in my opinion, is becoming an AI first platform. Microsoft have done a fantastic job at making data agents available, the integration of Copilot, MCP servers, increasing the API and the REST API access across Fabric as well. The command line tools are amazing as well. I would say Microsoft are doing a great job of preparing Fabric to become a leading AI native platform if it isn't one already. Just back to your former point as well, you're absolutely right. Lots of organizations discuss being data driven, they discuss being AI driven. I still see organizations, I still speak with organizations across the globe in today's day and age that don't have a data strategy, let alone an artificial intelligence strategy as well. So there are steps to be taken to be able to successfully implement these technologies and their proven paths. We just don't see a lot of organizations either A, being aware of those paths, or B, having the time to actually go and explore those paths down to board pressures, etc. Or they are aware of them, but they just can't act quickly enough, as quickly as the technology is improving.
Mm, this is awesome. I think what one topic or my personal problems when I work with companies and we work with Fabric is that the companies often overlook the metadata topic. Why is it so important topic, and what role does Microsoft Purview play here?
And sorry, can you just repeat the first bit? Which topic in particular?
Yeah, I see a lot of companies struggle with their metadata, or they don't have metadata. W- why is this so often overlooked, and how can Microsoft Purview help here?
Yeah, absolutely. So great question. So organizations really don't understand, and whether this is from a culture perspective, what metadata means across an organization and how to be able to utilize it. Okay, it's a fairly new concept, especially as organizations step into this data and AI world that I kind of call the era of intelligence. Okay, now with that in mind, again, you then have to become very strategic in regards to how you not only catalog the metadata, but you also ensure that it's regularly updated. You have a steward that looks after that, and then you make this available sometimes just to small audiences within the organization, but you ensure that those audiences that need access to this data, to this metadata, have access to it. Now, you're absolutely right. Microsoft introduced Purview specifically for this reason, and it's a fantastic tool to be able to go and take all of your metadata and master data management, quality, and governance, and wrap it up again into a single layer, which really plays well with other tools in the Microsoft ecosystem like Fabric. Now, what we do tend to find is that some organizations aren't quite ready for the scale of a tool like Purview. And this is where something that I mentioned before, something like FabOps steps in as being that all-encompassing data quality and governance tool that helps organizations at that more small to medium layer be able to still get the benefits of becoming metadata driven, tracking data lineage across your organization. So understanding where that um, data metric or data point in your report actually tracks back to in your source system and the calculations that are taking part, and also being able to track any changes to that underlying data as well. And something that's become even more prevalent in the last few years as well is how do you actually track who has access to that data? Is the access to that data correct? And when did that change?
Mm. I think another important topic is the semantic models, especially in data for data projects. How did enterprises profit when they will start with AI when they have good semantic models?
Oh, it's absolutely, as I mentioned earlier, it's becoming probably, in my opinion, one of the highest priority objects within your data environment to ensure that you have correct. Okay. Now, to think about this, this is where you hold all of your, let's just talk about a traditional Kimball methodology. This is where you hold your traditional star schema. So your fact tables, your dimension tables, but also most importantly, your metrics, so your measures and any context around this. So this becomes the feeding ground for your agentic agents to be able to understand your business logic, your data relationships, semantic model, the context or descriptions that you provide alongside that data, and then also be able to utilize those calculations as well. Now, it's worthwhile noting that Microsoft have also recently gone into GA with Fabric ontologies and Fabric IQ as well, which also helps support this narrative as well, and sometimes don't always have to rely on your semantic layer as well. So now within Fabric, you have many routes to actually being able to achieve this intelligence layer for your agents to work on top of.
Yeah. What I also often see is it's when I work with companies, especially in the data field, they they really like to have fast the first report in Power BI. So that's the goal. And if I talk about governance, it's often we fix it later. Did you think that works?
Never, it never works. And so at least in the approach that we take with organizations, it's about how you deliver that value quickly. And we've had, like I mentioned, generally our proof of value approach is anything as small as 4 to 12 weeks to actually having governed agentic AI reporting directly on a client's data, anti-hallucination free, and correct within 1% of tolerance as well. Now, how do you do that with the constraints that you've just mentioned? Okay. Organizations want to see that end product quickly. And like you've mentioned, they don't care too much about the governance aspects, or at least not as a phase one deliverable. Okay. It's typically how we do this is to bake in governance as part of the whole development life cycle. So how do we get to an end working goal in the quickest possible way so the organization can start testing and they can start providing feedback and they have something tangible in front of them, whilst in parallel we are still posing the governance questions and building that governed environment alongside that. So it's definitely a tight walk, or a tightrope, should I say, to walk. But typically, the approach we've used with the Onyx framework has enabled us to be able to deliver both.
Yeah. What does good governance actually look like from your perspective?
It's a combination of things, Mirko, and to be honest, that's probably a whole nother podcast session in itself. So I'll try to keep it relatively small. So we look at this from a security perspective, from a permissions perspective, really understanding where the data comes from, any
Mm.
security risks of that data. Is it PII data, for example? How much of it is sensitive? Is the data shareable across an organization? If it's not, who should have access to it? Who then oversees this process over time? When do we have periodic checks to ensure that this governance is in place? What layers do we need to implement this governance in? Is it just in the warehouse? Is it also through object level security, row level security, accesses to workspaces, etc.? So there's multiple layers to overcome from that perspective. So I guess to kind of try to summarize that, you have the data culture layer. Is the organization geared up to be able to support governance, and do they understand their data? Who owns, so you have the ownership and responsibility layer, and then you have the technical implementation layer as well, where you look across that whole architecture and estate, and define those governance points, and then how you manage and maintain these standards over time. So how you track and how you monitor and ensure that this is observable and readily available to the organization as well.
Yeah, I think about companies like Gartner, they provided governance frameworks and maturity models. What did you think about those?
Absolutely. I think that the closer we get to standardization in the future is going to be absolutely ideal, because we typically have, like you've just mentioned, various different data governance standards, shall we
Mhm.
say, and some of these are geographically based as well. Some of these are actually industry and domain based, and some of these are actually just from organizations themselves. So it would be good in the future to have a standardized framework. But I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the fact that they are using a framework is typically the first point of getting towards a win, as opposed to not having any framework or implementation at all.
And yeah, when we talk about governance, especially in Fabric, you have built a FabOps. So can you a little bit explain what problems it solves?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those the people like myself and like organizations that we work with that have worked in Power BI and now Fabric, the joy of these tools is you're absolutely able to get up and running very quickly at pace and start to deliver value. But it also becomes a bit of a sprawl. Okay, typically when I speak to IT admins or Fabric admins, it's very difficult for them to understand what users are doing over in marketing, how they're building their semantic models and reports. Is that in line with standards set in finance, etc.? And then as you add multiple capacities to this, multiple semantic models, reports, which then scale into the hundreds and thousands, it becomes this behemoth that is very difficult to be able to observe, understand, and maintain, and most importantly, to govern. And this is absolutely what FabOps does. It's that always on kind of sentinel in your environment that really is ensuring that everything adheres to best practice standards. It checks to see if there's any outages in your environment. It delivers automated executive quarterly reports, monthly managerial reports, and daily snapshots. Every area that you would like tracked, alerting, and performance based guidelines on is also covered in there, and also from a costing perspective as well. How much did my lake house cost me this month? How much did marketing's lake house cost them this month? So on and so forth. And all in a single pane of glass in a single platform.
So it's also fine. I think it's also a topic. Yeah, it's really interesting because a lot of people ask about it. But I think when I think I heard often from problems. So a lot of companies, they build their stacks on Microsoft. They say they cannot use Fabric because we cannot different the different cost of different, yeah, of our clients that running on the Fabric. So can FabOps also help here?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually give you the option within FabOps to be able to tag different workloads and different objects, and then attribute them to either a different client or a different department as well, and then be able to track the costs against those.
Mm.
So, for example, at the end of a month, you can have the compute bill for your finance team. You can have the compute bill for your marketing team, or if you're doing this by client A, client B, client C, you can also have those compute bills readily available as well. So you're absolutely correct. FabOps also ships with that FinOps model to it, which allows you to attribute that spend.
Yeah, that's really cool because I often heard companies have this problem, and they stay then not on Fabric. Um, what did you see? Which governance matrix more, yeah, matters most?
Yeah, so I guess just to go back to the previous point for one moment, just for the listeners out there. So, for those of you that are interested in FabOps, it is freely available directly within Microsoft Fabric. If you go to the Workloads tab, scroll down until you see FabOps, and you hit install, you can free trial FabOps for 7 days and automatically get a score of your environment as well. So, I would recommend that you all go ahead and do that. And then, Mirko, I hate giving this answer. It's typically the consulting answer, but which framework to use? It depends, and it depends on so many factors. It's the easiest way for me to answer this question is for you to work with us at Onyx Data and to utilize our data governance framework and allow us to support you in building out one that works for your organization. But there are so many different frameworks that fit different implementations, industries, and also geographies as well.
Mm. I think another problem I often see, it's company states starts with good data quality, but yeah, time over time, yeah, it's not getting better. How do you monitor data quality constantly?
Oh, absolutely. And again, I work with organizations all of the time that just don't have the observability in place, especially across their data pipelines, their ingestion processes, etc. Where you're just starting to track. So, and you can have different quality. I can't go into details in regards to what quality looks like because it's very much dependent on that organization. It could be nulls being introduced is a quality check. It could be a range from an integer value. Let's say you shouldn't have any integers within this data set that go above 1,000, for example. So first and foremost, it's about defining what quality looks like for that data, the tolerance that you're happy to observe, and then how do you not only track that, but how do you then display back to the organization what good looks like. And as you've mentioned, how do we then handle any anomalies to those rules? So, for example, typically in our implementations, we will quarantine any data that doesn't fit within tolerance. It means that we don't stop the load of the data, but we push those anomalies into a quarantined environment to be checked manually by a human in the loop, and then if they need to be reprocessed, then they can be. But again, this is a dedicated framework and a pattern for how to achieve this in an organization. The actual rules themselves really come from working alongside the organization and the data sets that they're working with.
It's interesting. Um, I think um, when you look in a little bit in the future, what did you plan with the FabOps? Is there coming something new features?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're always consistently working with organizations that are at the forefront of utilizing Fabric at a high level, and the pain points that they currently have with the platform. Now, obviously, we're in the era of intelligence and agentic approaches, so we do utilize this within FabOps. One of the great ways we actually do this is be able to have an agent that's available to you in FabOps which is contextually driven to your data to be able to ask questions about the Microsoft technologies and how they can support you as an organization moving forward. So, for our example, a good example of this is Direct Lake. Lots of organizations don't use Direct Lake, they don't understand it, and they're not sure what the value of being able to implement this will have for them. Well, directly within FabOps, you can ask that against your data and be shown how to implement it, why you would implement it, and also the expected value back that you can get from for that implementation. Now, our roadmap is quite long. We're working on integration directly with Purview as well, which is exciting moving forward. And we are getting a lot of requests for actually agents being able to take right actions. Now, there's lots of data governance alongside that to look at, but it's another exciting route forward. So our goal with FabOps is for it to be the default tool of observability across your whole Fabric estate to be able to, at a glance, be able to understand how you're performing from a security, a governance, a performance, and a cost perspective, and also to be able to ensure that best practice is being adhered to across your organization. So, one way to look at this is, are my marketing team, and I've been picking on marketing quite a lot today, so I apologize. Are my marketing team using DAX best practice for all of their calculations? Are they adhering to our report standardizations and logo placements, etc.? You can now do all of that in an automated fashion across your whole estate.
Mm. Yeah, it's okay to talk about marketing. I came from the marketing part, and yeah, it's the people they do the most chaotics in such systems because they have the most special wishes and so on. But
Mate.
what does governed production really mean from your perspective?
Yeah, so I guess in today's day and age, with data being more prevalent, and I guess with large language models and Gen AI being where it is, organizations are a lot more open now to threats than they ever have been before. Computer literacy is at its all-time high, inference at an all-time high, the availability of data and compute at an all-time high. So all of this comes together to really put in place a melting pot, which allows organizations like us to support organizations to drive value. But also, it means that organizations become more open to external bad actors, but also internal bad actors as well. So, starting with that governed first approach, ensuring that you have protection not only externally, but internally with what is quickly becoming your most valuable asset, which is your data, is a key component to get right day one.
And what I also found interesting, it's or I think it was for 3 years or so, and Microsoft introduced the Copilot, the AI in Fabric, and yeah, it looks so good at the yeah at the demo, and we try it, and it's only say, okay, you have to done this. So I think yeah, it was nearly yeah a little bit like Google Inside Fabric, so I don't have to open another browser. But I'm not really so happy with it. Uh, what will you say? What a does Copilot or AI play? What role does it play now in Microsoft Fabric?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that Copilot and just general AI are probably two separate things personally. So I think that what Copilot does is it gives you that introduction to generative AI technologies within your Fabric environment to make processes quicker and smoother in a chat interface. Now, the way I think about it is like when we first got IntelliSense and the use of Redgate tools and the tool belt, right? It just made my process of development a lot quicker by being able to tab or use shortcuts. And it's very similar to Copilot. It's a lot quicker by me being able to guide Copilot. And it's very much that introductory piece, right? Now, then there's a journey to go on because utilizing, let's call it more intelligent AI. So, a Foundry implementation, for example, whereby you can start to get a bit more agentic or utilizing VS Code with a large language model of your choice as a frontier model would potentially open up to you alongside MCP servers and APIs, etc., much more capabilities than you currently have with Copilot in the same way that extending IntelliSense or your Redgate toolkit to its highest level would again open up more opportunities to you as well. So I think Copilot is a great starting point, and it's already been able to unlock a lot of more efficient processes for organizations to at least get started. But realistically, where we start to see a lot of value is with intelligent solutions using Foundry that then orchestrate multiple agents alongside business processes.
Mm. Did you think Fabric can become, I don't know, a, a bibliothèque or something for large language models?
Sorry, can it become a? I missed that
Um,
bit. Sorry.
okay, can it be a main source for large language models?
So I guess I believe that Foundry will become, or it already is, the main source for large language models. The Microsoft team do a great job of being able to make new releases available on day zero of all of the frontier models, which is no small task. So great work by them. What I believe Foundry will become will be the the data and the context layer for all of those large language and even small language models as well, to go and feast on. If I go back to that table and dinner service analogy, Fabric really becomes the table and the plates for the feast to be, and the food in this extent for everybody to come and feast on, whether that's humans or whether that's agents.
Yeah, interesting. I think this will be a amazing, amazing future when all work together. And I think also AI. I think AI Foundry it's the best uh, product from Microsoft. I don't like the Copilot Studio and all the other things. So I think that's the best product. And yeah, I think yeah, it will become really really interesting. Um, when we look a little bit about, yeah, I say business value, leadership, why do executives often lose confidence in AI and data programs?
Because of the time to value. I've cited some stats at the beginning of the podcast, and I can. There's lots of stats. There's lots of stats available from the likes of McKinsey, etc. Um, AI and data initiatives, and they used to be called business intelligence or BI initiatives, have always been very costly, very timely to get to value, and particularly with AI or Gen AI in today's day and age, they actually don't get to value 99% of the time. So, executives are right to be fearful of lots of capital being wasted for no output. And this is exactly why we built the Onyx methodology and framework alongside this. We absolutely ensure that the data being presented back by the Gen AI is accurate, it's hallucination free, which is audited and provable. We assess business metrics and build the use case against the metrics that we're actually going to increase or decrease, depending on what type of metrics they are. And we prove this out in as little as 12 weeks, which we're doing alongside industry leading organizations across the globe today. So, with this type of approach, it's very difficult to get to that 99% of projects not achieving production. We're pretty much closer to the opposite, where the vast majority of our projects do achieve productionization, and do go on to drive value within an organization as well. So that's typically what we've seen in my experience and how we've been able to circumnavigate it for organizations.
How should companies think about AI harness?
So I think we are very much governed by what's available on the market. We typically orchestrate at least our Gen AI implementations with Foundry. When we actually utilize Gen AI ourselves, typically we're dependent on the harnesses of the organization, whether that's Codex, whether it's Claude Code, etc. Each have their benefits, but I think that that's now becoming the dominant playground. The vast majority of frontier models are now at a similar capability, and we're starting to see this even with some of the smaller players, should we say, the likes of DeepSeek, that are distilling models and still being able to compete with the frontier models. Again, that could be a whole podcast episode in itself, and the complexities and the nuances of that. But now it becomes more apparent. The capabilities of the harness, and for me, Anthropic are currently leading that race.
Did you think in the future we need longer data engineers and data analysts, or will it completely replaced by AI? And when they will survive, what how will this role change?
Absolutely, we will continue to need them. So, give you an example of this, Mirko. We are implementing for organizations what we call autonomous swarms of data engineers and software engineers. Okay. The technology is called Onyx Kiln, and anybody interested, please feel free to reach out to me. Okay. Now, what this technology does is exactly what you've just mentioned. It enables you to spin up a team of data engineers specializing in notebooks, lakehouses, etc., and having a principal developer that sits above them, approves their work. It all flows through DevOps and all of your common patterns in development, and then you have a human in the loop that finally goes ahead to approve the work and manages those agents. And that's exactly the point that I was getting to. Okay. What won't happen, in my opinion, is that these personas and roles will be replaced by agents. They will become hyper enabled by them. Okay. Now, for myself, previously being a developer, still being very technical and having built up Onyx Data, um, I was getting quite bored of development 5, 6 years ago. What this has enabled me to do with the new wave of Gen AI is really get excited again about how I develop. Okay. What we're seeing when I speak to development teams is that now actually being able to achieve a huge amount more value, and they're actually working harder than they ever have been previously, even being assisted by these agents. And the reason for that is because they're able to deliver so much more. There's always been a huge backlog. Organizations are now seeing the art of the possible, and so the workload is increasing. And now, because you have this enabled team of developers that are supporting you and to become more efficient, the workload increases. So we continue to need people in those roles with that expertise to oversee that development.
Yeah, also, yeah. Oh, we're running a little bit out of time, so I have a quick fire round. So I ask you a short question, and you say what comes in your mind to fast answer.
Absolutely.
Okay, Power BI or Fabric apps?
Currently, Power BI.
Coffee, energy drink, or tea through audits?
Definitely coffee.
Oh, it's interesting. I think you're living in England. Um, Copilot or traditional BI?
Copilot.
Uh, how to balance governance and innovation?
With the correct approach and a framework and methodology that enables both to happen at the same time.
Data lake or warehouse?
Data lake.
What's your favorite Microsoft product?
Good question. Let's go with Fabric.
Okay, when Satya Nadella comes and say, "Hey, Leon Gordon, I give you all the money and resources you need," what feature will you develop?
A technology that creates world peace.
Is there one book everyone should read?
Yes. If it was only one book, then I would suggest for those leading an organization, profit first.
Yeah. How important are community?
Oh, massively important. I spent a lot of time building communities, so one of the highest priorities.
Uh, And what's the one skill every IT professional should learn now?
How to learn, how to continue to learn new technologies. That's the key skill for me.
What's the best British dish?
Oh, British dish. Oh, um, let's just go for tea and crumpets. Let's be traditional.
Yeah. So, um, thank you for staying here with me. So my closing question is, what's next for Onyx Data?
Continuing to support clients to deliver value on their journey with data and AI technology, specifically in the Microsoft realm, is such an exciting time to be involved in the ecosystem. There's so much value to be driven, and that's really where we see ourselves growing.
Yeah. Then, Leon, thank you so much for joining me today. It was, yeah, incredible, insightful conversation about, yeah, one of the biggest challenge facing organization today, not building the AI demos, but deliver AI systems that actually creates, yeah, business value. Yeah, we explore Microsoft Fabric, Purview, governance, semantic models, AI agents, Copilot, the pilot talks, and yeah, why production ready AI is about much more about technology. Yeah, so if you're planning a Microsoft development, building enterprise AI solution, or so on, so all the listeners should visit Leon Gordon on LinkedIn and his other channels, and yeah, especially should also look at the Onyx Data website. Yeah, so thank you for being here and spent this nearly 1 hour with me.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Mirko. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Bye. Ciao.